How to invest $10,000. If you have $10,000 to invest, you are off to an amazing start. Not many people get to that first milestone of truly having a spare $10,000 to invest. So, congratulations for getting your $10,000 together. Having $10,000 to invest is more than many of the world's richest investors started out with, including the most successful investor we all know and love, Mr. Warren Buffett. So you are off to a flying start. In this video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to go about investing your first $10,000 and what to think about when you're just getting started. Before we get into it, please hit that subscribe button and comment, "I subscribed" below, so I know who is serious about improving their financial education. Done? Thanks. Let's get started with the first thing to consider when investing $10,000. The first thing you should do if you're looking to invest $10,000 is to try to get your $10,000 into an IRA. For those of you who don't know what an IRA is, it is an individual retirement account. The advantage of an IRA is that the money you put into it is tax deferred, meaning that you would have to pay tax on that $10,000 if it didn't go into an IRA wrapper. This means that instead of having the full $10,000 to invest, you would only have around $6,000 to invest after the government have taken their piece of your hard-earned money. So putting your $10,000 into the IRA means that you would have the benefit of a large capital investment at the start, which also means that any gains you make within the IRA investment will be larger because they are based on more capital invested to start with. There is also another benefit to operating within an IRA. Not only is the capital invested tax-free, any gains you make on top of the capital within the IRA wrapper are also tax-free. This means that your investment is as tax efficient as possible and will be making you the most amount of money to pay your future self during those later years when you have finished working. Tax makes a huge difference to your investment portfolio. It takes a huge chunk out of your initial capital and the gains you make, so it is really important that you try to be as tax efficient as possible with any investments you're thinking of making. You will eventually have to pay tax on the IRA gains, but this tax is not paid until you retire, by which time you'll be entitled to a tax-free amount to draw out annually. Also, if you have stopped working by the time you start to draw on your money in the IRA, your tax code will be lower, meaning that you will pay less tax than you would have paid when you first invested. The second thing we need to look at when investing our first $10,000 is whether you can max out your 401k and combine them with employer contributions. If your employer is offering to match your monthly or annual contributions to the 401k, you should take full advantage of this, as it is effectively free money. There are not many places where you can get an instant 100% return on investment. So if you're not taking full advantage of this, you need to ask yourself why not, and look into getting into your company 401k as soon as possible, and you may be able to backdate payments. You would need to speak to your employer. This combined contribution into your 401k will give you a huge step on your investing journey. This is because before you have even made any stock market or mutual fund gains, you will already be 100% up on the money you have invested. This means that the principal capital going into your account is doubled, so any gains you make will also be doubled, and that's an opportunity you need to be taking advantage of if you're not already doing so. Once you have maxed out the IRA, you'll need to look at some other places you can invest more money within the markets, as there is a cap on the amount you can invest in an IRA tax-free with an employer contribution, for obvious reasons. The 2022 IRA contribution limits are currently $6,000 if you are younger than 50, but you can contribute an additional $1,000 per year as a catch-up contribution, bringing the total maximum contribution if you are over 50 to $7,000 a year. This does not include employer contributions. This is only the contributions made by you as an individual. So if your employer is matching your contributions and you are over 50, the maximum amount your IRA can grow by annually through contributions alone is $14,000. If your employer is matching your contributions and you are under 50, the maximum amount your IRA can grow by annually through contributions alone is $12,000. The only downside to the 401k is that they are not actively managed, picking out the best stocks and shares or the stocks and shares with the best future potential. They are mainly invested over a large spread of mutual funds to minimize the risk to investors. Basically, the gains here will be generally tracking the market averages, which is okay, and will get you steady gains. But the best investors in the world don't just put their money into mutual funds. They individually pick the stocks and shares with the most potential for growth, and that is what we can look into next. and that is investing your $10,000 into individual stocks and shares. If you still have money left to invest after you have invested the maximum amount into a contribution matching scheme with your employer and invested the maximum amount into your IRA, then you need to start looking at investing into individual stocks and shares for maximum gains. When you are buying into stocks and shares, you need to be aware of the general rules of investing and how to pick them. I have a couple of great videos on the channel to help you out with this, so be sure to check them out after watching this video. I have also compiled them into playlists, grouping the subjects into an easy-to-find playlist. I also have some great summaries and key takeaways on some financial and investing books about investing too, so be sure to check them out. If you can develop these investing methods I show you in these other videos, if done correctly, you can make gains which outperform the market if you choose the right stocks and invest in them in the right way. I do have to say, though, that individually investing in individual companies is a risky strategy if you don't know what you are doing. None of the information in my videos constitutes financial advice. It is purely based off my own experience. And you should do all of your own research into any methods you want to use for investing in individual stocks and shares. Remember that you need to have patience when it comes to investing, and you need to think long term. Make sure you do extensive research on any stock or shares you wish to buy, and follow the general and basic rules of investing to achieve maximum success. If you are still watching this video, I just want to thank you. It's people like you who watch my videos all the way through to the end, which allows me to keep delivering them to help you with your financial journey. A like or a subscribe would be most appreciated, as it does take a lot of work to produce these videos. If you have done that, then thanks again, and let's get back to the video. Another thing to consider if you have $10,000 to invest is that you need to have a rainy day fund for when things go wrong. If you only have $10,000 to invest and you don't have your rainy day fund, you ideally need to set that aside before you start investing into stocks and shares and more risky investments. Investing into things like a 401k or an IRA mean that those funds are locked up until retirement. If you try to draw them out before this, there are huge restrictions and penalties which would wipe out any gains your portfolio has made. So, you should only invest into these funds with money you can really afford to keep invested long term. I would advise that you need to have at least 6 months' worth of total expenses set aside as an emergency fund. This way, if you lose your job or have some unexpected bills to pay, you do not have to start closing out your investments to pay the bills, as this is a surefire way to lose money. You need to be keeping your investments running over long periods of time, and you don't want to have to exit early before any gains are made because your car broke down or you lost your job. You should be looking at investing in 10-year blocks. But as Warren Buffett says, his favorite time to hold a share is forever. You need to have that mindset too. Investing is for the long term and not the short term. Think in terms of investing for your retirement rather than to pay for a vacation next year. So just make sure that when you have your $10,000 ready to invest, this is an amount on top of your rainy day fund, so you and your family are covered should the worst happen, and you need to get your hands on funds quickly. Another thing that people don't tend to consider is that if they currently have high-interest debt. If you do have high-interest debt, such as credit cards and bank loans, the $10,000 you're looking to invest is usually best spent on paying off this existing high-interest debt first. If you owe $10,000 on a credit card charging 50% APR, you're better off paying off that credit card rather than trying to invest it in the stock market for now. Think about it. If you made a good return of 30% on your stock market investments, you are still 20% worse off, as you have paid 50% in interest charges to your credit card company. So make sure that you pay off all your debt before you investigate investing any spare cash you have. When you're looking to invest an amount of $10,000, also don't forget that you don't have to invest in stocks and shares. You can also make the investment in the best asset there is, and that is in you. Some of the best investments you can make are investments in yourself. If you can spend money which allows you to get better educated and allows you to make bigger gains in the stock market using your newfound knowledge, then this is a great way to invest your money. But even if you don't want to invest a dollar amount in your financial education, you can invest time and effort to educate yourself. Watching videos like this on YouTube reading investment strategy books, or listening to audio programs. The list is endless, and the more effort you put into increasing your knowledge, the better off you will be on your financial journey. If you liked this video and it helped you on how to invest $10,000, hit the like button and let me know in the comments below. Have a look at this next video to keep on building your financial knowledge, and please share this video with a friend who is interested in the financial markets. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.